Yo, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Monday after the Buccaneers game, on one of the most notorious and infamous calls, um, possibly in NFL history. But we back, we here, sitting at 2-3 right now, sitting at 2-3. And like me, I'm sure the last 24 hours. You've seen a lot online about the Grady Jarrett, Tom Brady flag, a lot on TV. But at this point, what can we do? Then we can do. I'm sure they'll eventually apologize to us, tell us they messed up, like the rest of the world knows. But they're not gonna reverse it and give us the dub, give us the victory. So we march on, we move on. BS call, just one of them tough things that we got to deal with and we will deal with. I've seen a lot of Tampa Bay fans even admit to themselves, like, yeah, y'all got robbed on that one. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. We talked about that yesterday, so we're not going to really dwell on that again today. How's everybody doing? We're going to do our player grades today that we do every week. We're going to do the player grades. Before we get into that, we'll talk about Grady. No, sorry, that's still on my mind. We'll talk about Deion Jones, right? We'll talk about Debo. As we all know, he got traded yesterday to the Cleveland Browns for a sixth round pick, if memory serves me correctly. Yeah, I think we got a sixth round pick from them in 2024. And in return, they got Deion Jones and a seventh round pick for Atlanta. So essentially, uh, we traded Deion Jones for a pack of cherry nine laters, some lemon heads, nacho cheese Doritos, and a peach Fago. Six round pick. We essentially gave him away. We essentially gave him away. Myself personally, I think there's more than meets the eye with this entire trade situation with Dion. I know sometimes when you get a new staff in, sometimes they'll clean house, kind of like we've seen with our new staff, our new administration, Terry and Arthur Smith. Sometimes personalities clash when a new staff comes in. Sometimes players can clash with coaches when a new staff comes in. But I really think there was more than meets the eye with the Deion Jones situation. Um, because now I know it's easy for us to say, and I know a lot of us have said, myself included, that Debo don't fit this system that Pease likes to run. Okay, cool, so be it. I get that part, but it just seems to me like they really went out of their way to just get rid of him. Um, as if he was just absolutely trash, absolutely garbage. And as Falcons fans, we know that's totally not true. We know that Debo had, a few good years in Atlanta, Pro Bowl years. We know the plays that he made to win ball games for the Falcons. But how this situation has transpired here since last year with Arthur Smith, Fontenot, and Dean Pease, it just seems like it's more than meets the eye to me. I don't think it was just a bad scheme fit. And for them to because they've been trying to trade him for quite some time. So for them to just take a six round pick and even have to give up a draft pick, it just seems like they just was ready to give him away, but they just didn't want to cut him. So you could have offered the Falcons, it seems like virtually anything, and you could have got Deion Jones. And we went as far as to reconstruction his contract, add on some voidable years, for the team that takes Deion Jones in a trade. So we even made it financially easy for who we know now is the Browns. Um, I think the Browns are only going to be responsible for about a 1.4 $1 million cap here, salary cap here. That's for a former Pro Bowl player who's still in his 20s. So, man, like the Browns ain't losing nothing. That's a extremely low risk, high reward for them. The Falcons still stuck with avoidable years on the contract. So I think it's more than just a bad scheme fit with Deion Jones. I think it's more than that. And will that ever come out? Who knows? But I just feel like it was more to it than a bad scheme fit as far as Debo goes. Um, so I don't know if he's gonna play as soon as he's eligible to play, which I think he's eligible this week. In regards to coming off injury reserve, so I have no idea if he's gonna play, but it seems to me like that was a good deal for the Browns, man. Like he's not really hurting the salary cap. He's still young. Um, the Falcons still gonna be responsible for some contract, even though we did, like I say, void out some years, so we're able to spread it out. And once we get past this year, as we all know, our pocket is gonna be pretty deep. So I mean, it's not gonna necessarily hurt us, in any kind of way. We are we are now we now have this year $77 million, $77 million in dead cap, which is a new NFL record. The previous record we held also, but that's a lot of dead money. But in 2023 and 2024, we're gonna be able to spend a lot of money and fill a lot of holes on this team. So it looks like the only remaining Falcons from the Super Bowl, Jay Matthews, Grady Jarrett, and ultimately I'm cool with that because I really think you had to pretty much wash and rinse that entire team out of here. Grady Jarrett is still showing us that he's a beast, so no need to get rid of him. He's playing phenomenal. Jake Matthews, I really think Jake Matthews catches a lot of unwarranted criticism from the Falcons fans base. I think a lot of criticism from Jake has always been unwarranted. Jake Matthews has never been a bad tackle. He never been bad. He never been trash. He's been solid. He's been a solid tackle. That's what Jake Matthews has been his entire career. He's been solid. And you can win with Jake Matthews. You build enough, you build a quality team, you can win football games with Jake Matthews. So I think he's always caught a lot of just unwarranted criticism and maybe based on just what his last name is. And that's kind of unfair. None of us picked which DNA brought us here. You know what I mean? It ain't like he chose his parents and his uncles and his cousins. But Jake has always been solid, man. Jake is not only being solid, he's always been available. I'm knocking wood. But Jake Matthews we ain't never have to worry. Well, Jake Matthews ain't playing because of this. He ain't playing because of that. Always been solid. As that saying goes, one of your biggest abilities is availability. That's some of what kept Matt Ryan around here so long. We cried and we whined that we wanted him out of here. We wanted him traded, but he always got up and showed up for work every day. And that's a big thing in the NFL when you're a solid player and you don't have a reputation of getting hurt. That keeps them giving you contracts, especially when you're a good locker room guy. You ain't giving nobody any problems. That keeps you employed in the NFL. And you know that's some things we tend to look past. But I never seen Jake Matthews as a bad left tackle, man. Jake Matthews is solid. You know, everybody. It's impossible to have 53 man roster and they all be Pro Bowlers and all be all pro guys. That's impossible. Every team, even Super Bowl teams, some team, yay, he just solid. He's solid. No, he ain't great. He ain't trash. He's solid. He gets the job done. We work with people every day today. They just solid employees. They ain't the worst employee in the office, and they ain't the best employee in the office. They come to work every day, keep their nose clean, and they go home. That's Jake Matthews. There's a Jake Matthews in every workforce around the world. So Jake and Grady, those are the last two we got left. But again, I think there was more than meets the eye with the Deion Jones thing. Facebook user says we got a sixth round and a seventh round pick in 2024. Okay, maybe I read it wrong when I read the breakdown. I thought I read that we got a sixth round pick and they got our seventh round pick. So if that's not the case, I appreciate you clarifying that for me. Facebook user says with a $12.14 million dead cap hit, in addition to all that dead cap, we already have. Correct. I just mentioned we got the NFL record now for most dead money, 77 million. We could damn near fill the NFL roster with our dead money, y'all. We gonna fill the roster with our dead money and probably win 3 or 4 games, just with our dead money. We could go fill the NFL team. That's crazy. That's wild. Facebook, you say he's a solid player. Yeah, man. Jake Matthews, he's solid. He ain't trash. He ain't great. He's just solid. Solid. Comes to work every day. Does his work. Goes home. Keeps his nose clean. Don't call in sick. Solid employee, man. Every workforce is filled with him. Facebook user title, does get rid of Deion help us with our cap space? I really have not seen the breakdown of how that's going to affect the cap next year. Now, this year, obviously not, and that's cool. We cool with just having a lot of dead money this year, obviously. But from what I've seen, yet I have not seen like the breakdown of how much we'll save next year, and I have not really looked yet either. But when I find our Facebook user, I will make sure to post it in the group, so we'll all be kind of in tune on how that affects us financially. Um, Facebook users will carry an additional dead cap of $12.14 million this year, but we're clear after this season. Yeah, 2023 and 2024. Those are going to be some great years for us financially. I just hope we spend wisely. You know what I mean? I just hope we spend wisely, and I'm sure that Calvin Ridley money won't affect us either because I'm sure they're gonna trade him as soon as they get the opportunity to. Clayton Murray says, "So can we riot? So can we riot, Mister Bitch ass Brady? He just mad because Grady sacked him 3 times in the Super Bowl. I think he had more than three. What is it? 3.5? I think actually in the Super Bowl. Um, Grady Jerry has kind of been a nemesis of Tom Brady going all the way back to the Super Bowl. So yeah, I'm sure Tom probably remember that too. Once he sacked Tom Brady, of course Brady get up crying to the referees or whatever, like he always do. So, it's just one of them things, man. It's one of them things. It's one of them things. It really makes the NFL look terrible, though. I can't even lie to you. It makes the NFL look terrible. If anything questions the integrity of the game, it was how that game was officiated yesterday, man. If you NFL always be talking about protecting the shield and the integrity of the game, and that's why they come down on players like Calvin Ridley so hard for betting. because they're affecting the integrity of the game. But when you have stuff like that happen, man, I cannot even lie to you. That looks like WWE, WWF wrestling. Where the referees are in on the outcome of the game. Just like in wrestling, as we all already know, the referees are in on it, the play, the act. That's kind of what that looked like, man. So I don't know, man. NFL didn't do themselves any favors with that call. And it seemed like to me, I don't know if they made a statement yet, but it seemed like to me they'd have got in front of that first thing this morning, Monday morning, because this has been a whirlwind of criticism from everybody. You know, all the national pundits have been talking about this game, and the NFL seems like they're always worried about their image and how it makes them look, and protecting their money and their fans. And I haven't heard them say anything just yet. And granted, I haven't been like scrolling through Twitter like I normally would on a Monday, but it just seems like they just came out and said something about this early. Cause it man, um, Stevie Wonder could have told you like, hey man, that's not a flag. You know, that's especially when you have all this criticism from the national media. That's really what gets me about it. You know, if that play happens in the first quarter, like I said, our fan base we'd have still been upset about it. But it's different. You ain't really necessarily impacting the outcome of the game in the first quarter like you doing in the fourth quarter and crunch time and the clutch. And what really gets me, y'all, what's really being swept under the rug, and we spoke about this yesterday. When I say it makes the integrity of the game look bad, it's because the AJ Terrell call, and the national media not really gonna talk about that because a lot of them didn't watch the game like we watched the game all four quarters. A lot of the national guys, they have, even though they're national media, they probably have a team that they really focus on, so they're watching that game. And they hear about the Tom Brady sack, and well, let's go back and watch that so I can talk about it and tweet about it, or go on ESPN in the morning and talk about it. But what a lot of them are missing is the AJ Terrell flag. You know what I mean? And that kind of lets you know, like, man, this looks like a Vegas game. Look like boxing in the '60s and the '70s. It's just wrestling. It's where the outcome is already determined. So, like I say, everybody talking about the Grady Jarrett play because that was the most polarizing play. It was a sack on Tom Brady, but I'm telling y'all, the AJ Terrell call was just as egregious. It was just as bad. It was just as terrible. It was on third down. So no matter what, they were gonna find something to call on somebody to help Mr. Brady extend his drive and put some points on the board and put us away. They wanted the Bucs to put us away. And it's just those pesky little Falcons just kept fighting. They kept fighting. They kept fighting. They didn't expect that. They didn't expect us to fight like that in the fourth quarter. Our defense to start playing great. Offense to start putting up points. So I never been one of those big, like I said yesterday, I never been like a big conspiracy. The NFL is rigged kind of guy, but man, hey y'all. You want a good example of a rigged game? That was a rigged game, man. It is what it is. I don't know if that came from up top in New York, from the league. I don't know if the referee Bolger, if he doing something he shouldn't be doing. I don't know if he got a grudge against the Falcons. I don't know. I don't know, but the players didn't determine that game. The league determined that game, and that's very unfortunate, man. That's very unfortunate. And even if it's not the Falcons, man, I don't like when referees determine the game. I hate that. I know a lot of times when I'm watching NBA, and I think I see a little more in the NBA than I see in the NFL. But I hate when I'm watching NBA and I'm like, man, let the players determine the game. You wasn't calling those fouls in the first half, so don't call it the last 3 minutes of the game, especially during the playoffs, man. I don't like that. But nonetheless, we got to be honest with ourselves. This is these professional sports are multi-billion-dollar industries, man. And once you got that much money involved, sometimes things tend to happen. Uh, kind of like that Tim. I hope I saying his name right. Tim Donaghy, the NBA referee who was rigging games, fixing games. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's see. Eric Parker. Tom Brady is one of the slickest cheaters I've ever seen in the NFL. I agree with you about that. He acts like a child when things don't go his way. He needs to retire. He is ruining football. Did you see how many times he was hit yesterday? He was literally kicking our players and threw his hands up like he didn't do a thing. Yeah, man. You absolutely right. I mean, he just sitting there kicking and crying to the ref. Even on the Grady Jerry flag, he got up. He's like, "Well, you're not gonna call that." It's like, and that's why I keep saying, man, it looks terrible for the NFL, man. It's like y'all just can't keep protecting and helping Tom Brady. I mean, we already know he's a known cheater. I mean, like, come on. I mean, this guy's really the Ric Flair of the NFL. You got all these questionable things around Super Bowl wins and in NFL, we ain't forgot now about the Flakegate. Y'all burned the tapes, y'all burned the evidence. So we don't really know to what extent that was going. Then they sitting there taping practices and walkthroughs. So come on, NFL. I mean, come on, come on, come on, come on. Economy already bad. Don't give people a reason to turn you off and stop watching and going to the games. I mean, damn, it's crazy, man. It's really crazy. Clay Murray says, "Okay, my last day is about the worst call in NFL history, but 49ers y'all next. I hope we sack that mug Jimmy G. Yeah, we got to move forward, man. And I just hope the players can put it behind us because honestly, Clayton, we end of the day we just fans. We ain't got to prepare for the game next week. It's the players that really got to mentally put this past them and prepare for the next game. They could mull over that all night after the game, the evening, the nighttime. But you know what? Today is a preparation day for the 49ers, for the guys at Flowery Branch, our players, Grady Jarrett specifically, and everybody else on the team. Hey, you got to move past it and get ready for San Francisco. Steve Jones, how you doing, Steve? Says excellent analogy. WWE. That's definitely what it looked like. Oh, yesterday, Steve. Looked like some Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, Ravishing Rick Rude versus the Ultimate Warrior, Andre the Giant versus Big John Studd. It looked like some stuff was being pulled behind the screen, screen. My guy Nick, what's up, Nick? Says I was the one coming at the top. I had to log into StreamYard real quick. Okay, what's up, Nick? How you doing today, brother? That's my bro Nick checking in. Facebook user says I was mad at the PI on AJ. Yeah, that's what really started, man. They gave us the indication right then that, hey, man, Falcons, we're about to slip y'all a Mickey. We're about to put something in your drink, Atlanta. So get prepared. um, Billy Ray said, "What's going on, Billy Ray? How you doing today, bro? The fact that the ref is from Decatur, Decatur was greater, makes it even worse. With all the betting that's allowed, definitely makes you question the integrity. Up until this game, Falcons are 4-0 covering the spread. I'm just saying, excellent point, man. Excellent point. You really, like I say, man, all this money that the NFL makes and all the betting that going around, like." It really just makes you question the integrity of the game. And I keep beating this dead horse, but I mean, you using Calvin Ridley for example. You suspend a guy like him for 1 year for betting, and I totally understand it. But you let stuff like this happen, and people looking at it like there's no repercussions of this. Like, oh, he just made a mistake. There's no kind of repercussions at all about this, man. Um, to me, like calls like this, man, the NFL gotta step in next year and do something, man. When you just have an egregiously bad call like this, there needs to be some kind of consequence for the refs. And if it's not, you really kind of look deep beneath the surface and you say, well, why not? You know, why not? Why is there no consequence for the ref? They said, well, the highest grade referees go to the playoffs in the NFL. Oh, okay. So the lowest grade ones, the graded ones, they still get their money, right? There's no kind of repercussions about it. Um, but I tell you what, man, next year, roughing the passer, things that are so subjective, that needs to be reviewed. That needs to be reviewable. You should be able to throw a review flag on that. If something is going to cost a team 15 yards and an automatic first down, you should be able to review that. You can review everything else. I don't know why they decided like, well, you're gonna do that, but I got my theories on why. Yeah. With Vegas this year, I think Falcons is undefeated against the point spread. Yeah, we were 4-0 up until yesterday. I think we're 5-0 now because I think the spread yesterday was like 8.5. So we're still undefeated versus Vegas. You know, Vegas ain't beat us yet. Nick says, I know officials officiate in real time, and a lot of calls are hard to make, but I feel with technology the way it is, with reviews, New York should be able to override these calls, especially if it's gonna possibly affect the outcome of outcome of the game. Absolutely correct. Because any other time, you know, you can change a call from up top, and and what really gets me is what really makes this bad, Nick. Because when I went back and looked at it, the head referee is the one that threw the flag, the white hat. So how the rest of the referees gonna override him? He's normally the guy that overrides like bad calls. Like, no, that's a bad call. So it just, I don't know. It just yesterday just shysty, man. Yesterday was just shysty. That was one of the most obvious times in sports, and I know I'm looking at it a little more biased and a little more emotionally, but that was one of the most obvious times me watching a sporting event where I knew that I don't want to say the league, but I'm just gonna say the NFL. I'm gonna put the referees as part of the NFL just to make a blanket statement. That I knew the NFL or a league wanted to make sure one team won over another. That was just totally obvious to me. Like I keep going back to the AJ Terrell call because that started off. You know, if after the AJ Terrell call, they really want the Buccaneers to get more first downs and just run out the clock or score a touchdown and put the game out of reach. But our defense wouldn't let that happen. So it's just rough to watch stuff like that, man. They need to talk about this is for Justin Clinton. They need to talk about the 2 times Brady kicked Jarrett. The first time he sacked him, he really tried to kick the man. Yeah. I think Clayton Murray mentioned that earlier, but you're absolutely correct. Brienne checking in. How's it going today, Brienne? Says I respect Grady for moving past the situation and focusing on this upcoming Sunday. Excuse me. I agree with you. I know right after the game he refused to talk to the media, which was smart on his part, because I know he was filled with a lot of emotions and a lot of things he wanted to say. He probably was thinking like us fans, you know, hey man, they want Brady to win, and he know in his predicament as a professional football player, he can't come out and really say what was on his mind without a consequence. So he did the right thing, you know. I'm sure they'll give him a little fine or whatever for not talking to the media, but that ain't gonna be nothing to Grady Jarrett. Um, Grady posted it. Grady posted a post on Instagram. I saw that too. And to me, Brienne, I think that was his way of just lashing out. Like, yeah, they they got us. they got us on that one. But shout out to Patterson for changing his Twitter pic. I seen that Cordell Patterson. If y'all don't follow Patterson on Twitter, Cordell's a good follow on Twitter, man. He always have a lot of stuff going on. But I seen he changed his picture to represent what happened yesterday as well. Lisa checking in. How's it going? Lisa says I go back and forth between being mad that our offense didn't score any points in 3 quarters and getting mad at the call. I just hate we now have 2 divisional losses and lost out on the opportunity to lead the NFC South. Good point. Very, very good point. And I wish our offense could have came out earlier and put more points on the board, but I tend not to hold that so much against them as I hold the bad penalty on the official, because like we talked about a lot yesterday, it's still 4 quarters, of a game. So long as the clock ain't struck zero in the fourth quarter, you still got time to put points on the board. You know, the points at the end of the game count just like the points at the beginning of the game. And we could use that same analogy against Tampa Bay. You know, they came and put up points earlier, but they couldn't put up any at the end of the game. So it's a tough pill to swallow, no doubt about it. It's nothing being done because NFL down with it. Hey man, hey man. It looked like apparently so yesterday. Unfortunately for us, like some of the conspiracy people that always say the NFL is rigged, the sports is rigged. I be asking them all the time. Well, when are they gonna ever rig it for the Falcons to win? I mean, they done rigged it for like almost every team in the association to win. When is our turn? If it's really rigged, like Arthur Blank, what do you got to do for them to rig it for us to finally win one? You know, rig it for the Falcons one of these years. Rusty Moore checking in on YouTube. Russ says, still gonna wear my Debo jersey. Appreciate all Debo has done for us. The RTP situation will bring the team together. Watch us go on the street. That could light a fire on this team. You absolutely correct. As odd as it is to say, Rusty, maybe it'd be one of the things that we build on. It makes us better. It makes us stronger. I hope so. I definitely hope you're right. David, how you doing today? They supposedly review every referee team at the end of the year. They supposedly get deductions for missed and bad calls, but despite that, most still keep the jobs, and officiating has been horrible for years now. That's what I meant too, David. Like, so if you grade low, you don't make the playoffs, you don't go to the Super Bowl, okay, but you still get paid. So there's really no consequence for things like that happens yesterday. There's no consequence for it, you know. You can literally control the outcome of a game with a terrible call, and there's absolutely no consequence for it. It just sucks. It sucks. Robbie Harlan checking in says, I'm here so I won't get fined. In my Marshawn Lynch voice. Right, if it's rigged, then rigging in our favor one day in time. Yeah, Lisa, like, when do we get the benefit of the rig? Like, why y'all been looking over the Falcons all these years? You know, Atlanta is a beautiful city, a very progressive city. You know, now considered like a major city. Like, when do we get the rig in our favor? You know, don't Arthur Blank seems like a pretty cool guy. So, with Vegas, like NFL in New York, when do y'all come together and say, you know what, it's time to stop playing the Falcons? You know, we've made them the butt of the joke for all these decades. Let's give them a Super Bowl. Their fans deserve one. Hey, help us out a little bit, y'all. Not Falcons later, Panthers just fired the head coach. I saw that earlier today. I saw he's out of there. I did. I checked that out earlier. It was rigged, and why everyone still watch. Nobody watch wrestling for the same reason. I don't know, man. Wrestling is pretty popular, man. Wrestling is pretty popular, man. I'm talking about. I don't watch wrestling anymore. I stopped watching wrestling. Now, of course, I'm from Georgia. I'm actually from Middle Georgia. You know, so when I grew up, you know, wrestling was a huge part. I don't want to use the word culture, but it was a real big part of me growing up, especially down in the South. Rest in peace to my great grandmother, but when she used to babysit me, you know, we sit at home, or you know, I sit at her house. We would watch wrestling. My favorite wrestler was the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. She used to love her some Dusty Rhodes, man. But yeah, I grew up watching wrestling. I stopped when I was always like a big wrestling fan. I used to get like wrestling men for Christmas stuff, just like a lot of the young boys. But I stopped watching wrestling when Owen Hart died in the ring. Um, and I don't know why. I don't know if that triggered something in me mentally that just made me want to stop watching wrestling. But after Owen Hart died, I just lost all my taste in wrestling. Now, as I got older, 13, 14, 15, old enough to drive, start messing around with girls. I was not the same wrestling junkie that I was, as a 7, 8, 9, 10-year old, but I still watched it. I still, kept up with it, but I just wasn't the same junkie. But when Owen Hart died, I just I stopped totally, tuned it out of my mental. Like, I don't even know who the wrestlers are. If you ask me who the champion is right now, if somebody said I'll give you $5,000, you tell me who the wrestling champion is right now without looking, I could not win that money. I have no idea whatsoever. So I don't watch it at all anymore. Don't keep up with it, but I know it's still popular because, of course, I'm on social media and I see people still talk about wrestling. I see people still go to wrestling matches, um, and they Vince McMahon is a billionaire, so people still watch it. It's still a form of entertainment. Is pretty much what I'm trying to say. But I do understand your point as well. Um, Eddie Thompson, we did get a bad call that went for us that was pass interference on Miller before. But see the thing about that, Eddie, that was the makeup for the AJ Terrell call, the way I see it. And even then, the ball wasn't really catchable. But for argument's sake, I'll say you correct. But that's only the makeup call for the AJ Terrell call. So at that point, we even call the game fair and square at that point. Because the play you talking about with Alford, that happened after the AJ Terrell bad call. So and see the thing about that too, Eddie, like if they don't call that BS call on AJ, the play you talk about never happens. You understand where I'm coming from? Because it was third down when they called that bogus flag on AJ. So if they don't call the bogus flag on AJ, then the play you're referring to, it never happens. So I still can't even put that element of the situation into any kind of perspective because that play really should have never happened. The bad call on AJ, that was a third down call. Ron Simmons from Warner Robins. Yes, indeed. Wartime in the building, 478. I actually grew up with Ron Simmons' son. We lived in the same neighborhood at one point in time. Sewell Circle Park, what they call it now. I grew up with his son. Um, Grew up with his son, Ron Simmons, first black heavyweight champion of the WWE. I'm so used to calling it NWA because that's when I used to watch it. But yeah, I grew up with his son, man. Yeah, Ron Simmons. He went to my high school legend. Went on to play at Florida State University. That team Ron Simmons played on in high school, they won a national championship. Not a state championship, but they won a national championship. That team is still probably looked upon. Now, where I'm from, we're gonna say that's the best high school team in Georgia history. But if you talk to anybody old enough, when you talk about the best high school teams ever in history, they're gonna eventually mention that Warner Robins team with Ron Simmons and James Brooks, who went on to play for the Cincinnati Bengals. Um, and James Brooks was just a phenom, man. He was a phenom. I mean, you talking about a legend. James Brooks was a high school legend, man. People still talk about James Brooks almost 50 years later, how legendary he was and how many yards he put up. And the fact that he never would play the second half of the football games because the team would have everybody blew out by the third quarter. Um, Nick says we have yet to play a four quarters of football. I do like the fight in the team. They have to clean up the drops with Mariota. They're not throwing the ball often as we're a run first team. So when he does make good throws, they have to capitalize. Defense has got to stop those chunk plays like Tampa Bay was getting on the first half. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It seems like sometimes it takes our defense a little while to get themselves in rhythm. And it's odd to say because normally when you talk about getting in rhythm, that's normally something that happens on the offensive side of the ball. But like you're saying, like because at points early in the game, man, Tampa Bay was kind of getting what they wanted to driving down the field. And granted, we wasn't giving up a whole lot of points, but we were letting them control the game. And and I guess an element to this also when you say we don't never quit, because we don't never quit. Um, we've been in every single game this year. And I don't know when the last time I could say that about the Falcons. Probably since the Super Bowl era. But I guess we got to give credit to the coaching staff too for making adjustments. When we come out there and we're not playing the best football in the first half, and then we come out in the second half, and okay, we start making adjustments. Just like yesterday, our defense started playing good. I think Tampa had 3 straight drives, so they like went 3 and out, or something close to that. So we start stopping them. So we come out in the second half, we make the necessary adjustments on offense and defense. But like you say, we have to put it together for a full 4 quarters. And even if we don't figure out that formula this year, that's still in my mind like a real positive thing because I think most of us knew going into the season like, hey, we're not going to contend for a Super Bowl this year. But the team can, surprise some people. And they've actually surprised me being in every single game this year. Should have won a New Orleans game. Didn't give up, and to what you're saying, they fought and came back in the Rams game. So this is a team that just won't quit. For what the Falcons lacking talent, because as we know, we got some holes on the roster. Mariota don't throw the best passes downfield on the run deep. But for what they lack in talent, they make up for it in heart. This team has a lot of heart. So I'm liking that part from them these first 5 games thus far. Lisa says, yep, I used to watch wrestling with my granddaddy. Yeah, I did. Lisa, man, being from Georgia, man, like, you grew up watching wrestling. Like, you just grew up watching wrestling. It was so prominent in the Southeast region, man. Like, I was like the biggest, hugest wrestling fan as a kid, man. I used to, Christmas time come, that's what I used to ask for. I want some wrestling, man. I want the wrestling ring. So I was a super duper wrestling fan, man. Rob says he would have caught that out of bounds. I think that's why they didn't call it. He would not have caught it. And yeah, I don't think it was a catchable ball myself, and that's probably why they didn't call it. Robert, you make a good point. Rob Brian, what's up with you, bro? Says we are top 10 media market. I don't think we get a shot by them. Just know the NFC South revenge tour is going to be sweet. Like Grady said, eyes for it, gentlemen. Sup, Bird Gang? What's up, Rob? Good point, man. And our future bright, man. I like what I'm seeing from this team. Man. Just to fight, And I think a lot of us got a little frustrated over the last maybe 2 or 3 years with the Falcons because when we watched them, like they didn't used to fight. Sometimes you see the Falcons come out there and they're just going through the motions. Sometimes you see them, they will lay down. But seeing this team, how they come out there and fight, and I think that's a testament to the head coach, what he's instilling in them. Come out here and fight. No matter the score, you don't quit until the final whistle. Hey, you do that all year long. You're gonna win 2 or 3 games that you're not supposed to win. That's just how the math gonna happen. As long as you're coming out there and you fighting, giving heart, giving determination, you're gonna win. You gonna win games you ain't supposed to win. Now, in order for that to happen, the referee got to stay out the way. Because yesterday that was a game we would have won yesterday if the referee get out the way. So if the refs get out the way, that will happen. But Tom Brady, how dare you touch Tom? How dare Roman Reigns? Okay, appreciate it, Eddie. Appreciate that. Um, and they got us, for that BS holding call on AJ Terrell. Yeah, man. AJ initiated contact with him like 2 yards off the ball. You get 5 yards. I mean, even when they showed it on a replay, I'm like, man, did they choose the right person to call that flag on? Because that's not defensive holding. It's not pass interference either. So they were just letting us know what was on the way. They really didn't want to call. At the end of the day, they didn't want to call that. They did not want to call that flag on Grady, but they had to. Whatever agenda they had, they had to. Because if not, we're gonna get that ball. And see, we put so much pressure on them by going for 2 the last time we scored a touchdown and we made it. So it's like, oh man, they get the ball back. They kick. All they gotta do is kick the extra point, and they leave Temple with a victory. I don't know if they just want Tom to stay undefeated for us against us for his entire career. Just something that they can flaunt and brag about when he retires and goes into the Hall of Fame. But they definitely did their part yesterday to ensure that we wouldn't beat them. Crazy. Rob says wrestling is solid right now, still entertaining. But yeah, I saw Owen Hart die live on pay-per-view. It was real. Yeah, man, that was tough, man. I saw that film one time, and I've since then I have tried my darndest to make sure I never see that again. Because I don't want to see that again. But I don't know what happened with them. After that happened, I don't know. I just lost my taste in it. And I just kind of just stopped following it. And I was the biggest wrestling junkie, man. I'm telling y'all. When I was a little kid, man, I used to anybody who went to school with me around the time would tell you. I used to play like I was Zeus. I would flip my out. Zeus, who had a feud with Hulk Hogan, which was promoting their movie No Holds Barred. So I used to go to school and I do that Zeus and beat my chest and I flip my eye out. I even asked my mom, could I get a Z cut on my hair? She's like, boy, are you crazy? But I mean, all that stuff, man. Bam Bam Bigelow. One of my favorite wrestlers was the Great Muta. Boy, I used to love to watch. I still watch old wrestling. I get on YouTube some nights if I can't go to sleep 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll watch old wrestling. I'll sit here and get lost in the matrix, and I've been watching old wrestling clips for like 3 or 4 hours. I still like go back and watch the old wrestling, like I said, Great Muta, of course. Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, the original 4 Horsemen. Just all the old school greats, man. Big John Studd, JYD, Junkyard Dog. Man, I'm going down wrestling memory lane right now. Any word on Walker or Kyle Pitts injury wise yet? Nothing that I've heard. And like I said earlier, I hadn't really been online like I normally would be on a Monday. So nothing that I've heard. I think somebody mentioned though in the live yesterday that was a soft tissue injury or something for Walker, and he should be ready next week. So I don't know. I am a little concerned with Kyle Pitts though, because I mean hamstrings are difficult, man. They're unpredictable. A lot of times for hamstrings, you just need to rest them. And somebody that young already dealing with hamstring issues is kind of worrisome. So hopefully it's nothing serious for either one of those guys. Facebook user says wrestling was big. I stopped watching at the NWO and really at the Stone Cold era. Now that was some good era too. The NWO era. Oh man. When they came out with that game on I think it was Super Nintendo at the time. I might be wrong. Was it PlayStation? I think it was Super Nintendo and the NWO was on that game. Man, me and my friends, my homeboys, but we would get together like every Tuesday, and we just play that game like 5 6 hours, sometimes longer. We just play that game, and that was our thing to do like every Tuesday. I want to say that was Super Nintendo. I think it was a little bit after I graduated, if I remember right, around the time of graduation. But yeah, that was a good era. Stone Cold era, The Rock era. Those are some real good eras too. You know, Goldberg was kind of in that era too. Um, yep, and that's kind of like a little bit after I stopped watching, or a little bit right before I stopped watching. Facebook uses Roman Reigns is the champ. Yeah, Eddie mentioned that earlier. Roman Reigns from Georgia Tech is the champ in wrestling, and Vince is retired. Vince, wasn't Vince forcibly retired though? Did he get caught up in like some sexual allegations or something? He just went ahead and retired or stepped down or something like that. I didn't know Roman was from Georgia Tech though, so that's good to hear. You know, somebody from the area. Rob says Vince ain't have no choice. That hush money. Okay, yeah, yeah. So thank you, Rob. I was just saying that. I think he kind of like was forced forced to retire. I don't think it was something he willingly wanted to do. It is odd. Speaking of Vince, man, because going back to them like NWO days, like now this one wrestling was really, really, really interesting, man. Is when Bischoff. You know, Bischoff had I always call it NWA, and I know they changed the name, but that's just when I grew up watching it. Bischoff had the NWA, and they was competing against Vince in the WWE, and I remember Bischoff then was winning that war for a minute, man. Like they had higher ratings, and they were starting to steal some of their wrestlers, and it just I don't know what really happened to get Vince McMahon back over the hump and actually drive them out of business. But Bischoff them back in them days when they be coming on TV dissing each other, oh boy, wrestling used to be epic back then. Monday Night Raw and all that stuff, and Saturday Nitro. What? Hollywood Hulk Hogan when Hulk Hogan finally, went I forget the wrestling term, but when he was a bad guy, man, them used to be some epic times in wrestling, boy, and that was better for the fans because when they was competing for the number one spot, it brought out the both. It brought out the best in both companies, man, and they used to put on some damn good shows. Stuff that they normally would save for a pay-per-view event, they would put on TV just so they can win the ratings war for that week. So that was some good times as a wrestling fan. Big Mike in the building. What's happening with you, Mike? How you doing today, bro? Um, Facebook user did Matthews grade go down? Do you mean Jake Matthews? I think that I assume that's who you're talking about, Jake Matthews. And are you referring to like his PFF grade? I assume. Rusty says this might be nothing, but it's like the third week in a row they have pulled Hawkins out of the game in the second half. I didn't even notice it, Rusty. So who came in replacement of him? I didn't even notice it. True adjustments have been on point. Yeah, they have, T-Man. They have. And I'm glad to see that because that lets you know that coaches are doing their jobs. And that's one thing that Dan Quinn used to drive us crazy about. They would never make adjustments. Like come out in the second half and like what did y'all talk about at halftime? Did you try to do any adjustments at all, Dan Quinn? Eddie says I saw that since the Saints game we scored 45 in the fourth while allowing 10. Damn, I did not know that, Eddie. And see, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And that's going back to what I was saying before, Eddie. Like what we lack in talent, we got in heart. And excuse me, just quite honestly, we just don't have that raw talent on the team right now where we can just come out and just dominate certain teams for 4 quarters. because you still got to be talented too. Now you can have all the heart in the world, but you need a little talent in there too. So once we're able to add a little more talent on this team, like in free agency, I don't know what they're gonna do with the quarterback thing. I won't even talk about it right now. But once we add some talent in free agency, man, Falcons gonna be all right. I like the direction the team is going. I really do. The Falcons gonna be all right. They definitely gonna be all right. Facebook user says we had a discussion a while back about fans not coming out to games at 2 and 3. Fans, hold on. We had a discussion a while back about fans not coming out to the games at 2 and 3. Fans showing up. My point was excitement, a solid chance to win would turn the tide a bit. Yeah. When that excitement comes back, like like the Falcons are now, the Falcons are exciting to watch as a team again. You know, even though unfortunately right now we do have a losing record of 2 and 3, but they're exciting to watch. Just going out to heart, man. When you see your team coming out there, they don't give up. They find the win, and the game coming down to the last second. Yeah, that makes you more prone to, okay, well, I'll spend $150 ticket to go watch the Falcons. I'll sit in traffic for 45 minutes to an hour to go watch the Falcons because it's exciting. That's excitement for me on my Sunday. But if you ain't giving the fans nothing, if you like you're giving half-hearted efforts and not giving them anything to buy into, they'll stay at home. Especially in a city like Atlanta, man. You can find something else to do in Atlanta on Sunday. Big Tim Hensley is in the building. What's up, Tim? Says they trust starting to come around. Yeah, trust definitely starting to come around. I think Troy Anderson had 5 tackles this past game against the Bucs. It was crazy. This what gets me. Troy Anderson actually hit Brady way more harder than Grady Jarrett did. If y'all go back and watch the game, watch the play when Troy came in and they sent him in at the blitz. He knocked the shit out of Brady. He didn't sack him. He came close, but the Tom was getting up slow. But see, that went deciding the game. He knocked the shit out of Brady, man, when he came in on that blitz. But they didn't call that, but yeah, Troy is still starting to come around. Troy got a lot of potential, man. He's still a rookie, still got some things he need to work on. Yesterday, Fournette, I always say his last name wrong. That's that country, I mean. But Leonard Fournette, he got him 2 times in the open field, but otherwise, Troy played fairly well yesterday, and I've liked what I've seen from Troy Anderson since the block punt. I think he's going to continue to get better every week, and you talk about explosive. Troy Anderson is explosive off the ball. He almost blocked another kick yesterday. He came like probably a few inches away from having another block kick. Super athlete. So I'm really excited about him. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Walker next year. Even though I like Walker as a player, I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know how that linebacker core going to look. I know Troy going to be there, but 2 years from now, I don't know if Evans and Walker will still be there, but I guess we'll cross that bridge once we get there. At least as Brady talking about he doesn't throw the flags. Yeah, but he whine and cry for all the flags that he can get. Man, I do not like Tom Brady. And yesterday, Lisa just added to it. Don't like the guy. Tells us how many remember Roman Reigns at Georgia Tech as an all ACC defensive lineman in the Calvin Johnson days. Didn't know that. See, y'all put me on game right now. I had no idea at all about that. Did not know that. My man Daniel checking in. What's up, Dan? Says I'm getting in here late and the refs gave that game to Tampa. Jerome Bolger has been a part of some bad calls and they can't blame the Tua situation on that. I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. He has been a part of some controversy, Billy Ray checking in says, so I ask again because it has to happen. Marcus Mariota has 926 passing yards, 4 touchdowns with 4 interceptions, along with 4 turnovers. He's managing the game. He's not doing nothing dramatic to win. At what point does Ritter get the call? Prime example, we were still running the ball in the 4th with 3 minutes left. Good question. I really think that it's gonna be probably a while before they bring Ritter in. Um, Arthur Smith made a statement to the media like 2 or 3 days ago. Somebody asked him about Ritter, and he made one of those Arthur Smith quick statements. He's like, "Well, playing Ritter is not in our plans right now." So I think until like this team is like mathematically, if and when they get mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, you probably won't see Ritter in as the starter. Now, if we have a game where we winning like by 4 or 5 touchdowns in the second half, or we're losing by like 4 or 5 touchdowns in the second half, I think they'll bring him in for some spot play at that point in time. But I don't really foresee them bringing him in to replace Mariota anytime soon. Because one of the tricky things about that, if you bring him in, and if he actually does worse than Mariota was doing, now you're in a pickle. Because now it's harder for you to go back to Mariota. Once you bench him, he's benched. Once you bench him, it's like there's no turnaround after that. And see, even if you bench him this year, you almost saying to him, well, we're not going to even pick up your second year option next year. So I really think they're gonna slow roll that and try to wait as long as they can before they bring Ritter in the game. And with that said, I hope Mariota can find a way to be a more effective passer. Because Mariota does help us out a lot with his mobility and him being able to run. But man, if he could just become somewhat of an above average passer, because to me right now Mariota is below average passer. I'm just gonna be honest, he's a below average passer. But if he could just become an above average passer, man, we would be so dangerous on offense. And also they're gonna have to do something soon. I don't want to say soon, but they're gonna have to get a franchise quarterback in here sooner than later. Because you got Kyle Pitts, fourth round, number 4 pick overall. You got Drake London, the 8th pick overall. You got to open up the playbook and get those guys involved in the offense. Don't get me wrong; it's fun being able to run the ball again. I like that. I used to play running back, so I like to see my team running the ball. But at the same time, you got to start making those draft picks make sense now. You can't take Kyle at number 4, take Drake at number 8, and say, well, y'all only gonna get 2 or 3 receptions a game. Because now it don't make sense. And then that starts to make Fontenot look bad and starts to make Arthur Smith look bad. So within these next 2 years, if it's Ritter or whoever it's going to be, it's not going to be Mariota. Just keeping it, just being real. Whoever's going to be, whether it's going to be Ritter, whether it's going to be a quarterback in the draft, whether they're going to go find somebody in free agency, they got to get a franchise quarterback in here who can throw the ball. Because you got to make sense of these draft picks. I'm telling you, as we all know, wide receivers is the most diva position in the NFL. Kyle Pitts is young right now. Drake London is even younger right now. But year 3, year 4 in the league, they're not going to be content with just having 2 catches on the stat sheet. They're not going to be content with having 1 reception on the stat sheet. So they got to get a franchise quarterback in here very, very soon. Whether that's Ritter or whether it's a guy that's in college right now. But it has to happen soon. Because these guys, these receivers and pass catchers that you drafted, I'm telling y'all, year 3 and year 4, they're not going to go for this. They'll go for it now because they're still young and they feel like they ain't paid the dues yet, and you can't start complaining so early. But I'm telling y'all, they are not gonna be content with just having 1 or 2 receptions. Tim's Junkyard Dog was my all-time favorite. Yeah, I used to love me some JYD coming in the ring barking and shit. Rest in peace to Junkyard Dog. I remember I had his wrestling man also. Russ says we're gonna punt the 49ers. I hope you're right. We owe Kyle Shanahan some get back, man. We definitely do. Daniel says, as any quarterback gets sacked like that, no flag is thrown. But if the golden boy hits the turf, throw the flag and screw the other team. Daniel, you're absolutely correct, sir. Hey, you are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. David Starr says the hamstrings are what killed Julio. Yeah, man, and I don't even really want to talk it up, but like that's what has me slightly concerned about Kyle a little bit because they built kind of similar, you know. Big, taller guys, stature-wise, bigger guys, super fast. I don't know if that's putting extra strain on the hamstrings or what, you know. So I don't know. I just hope it's something very minor with Kyle. Hope it's something very minor. Says, man, I'm seeing from your live how many people got me blocked. Why y'all got Eddie blocked, man? Damn, Eddie. Eddie say we gotta watch it live to see how many people got him blocked. That's it, Eddie. That was it. Nintendo 64, WCW NWO Revenge. That was the game. Man, every Tuesday we used to get together and we play that game for hours, man. We would play that game for hours, man. Boy, it was some good time. It was some good time. That was like one of the last time periods I can remember, like pretty much all of most of my friends I grew up with, went to school with, you know, we all were still contained in one place before people went off and got married, started families, had kids, moved away. You know that period of life where you go from, all right, I'm hanging with my homeboys all the time, or homegirls if you're a female, or ladies, to when it's time to now separate and become a full-grown adult. So that's kind of the last period of time, and that game is one thing that bonded us. We always come together on Tuesday and play that video game. Robin says you might not be old enough to remember Mr. Wrestling 1 and number 2, the Assassins, Hobo Brazil, Thunderbolt. I remember Thunderbolt Patterson, Alex Baker, Ernie Ladd. I think I remember Ernie Ladd. I remember the Mr. Wrestlings too. I do remember them as well. Sean Glover, what's up, Sean? Says No Mercy was the greatest wrestling game ever. I played it a lot, even though I wasn't a wrestling fan at all. I'm trying to remember, did I play No Mercy? I don't know if I played that one. It don't ring a bell to me, so that may be one that I didn't play, or maybe I did. It depends on when it came out. If it came out like back in the days, I'm sure I played it. Back in the days, I played everything. Mike Tyson happened and it was over for WCW after that. What you mean, Eddie? When you say Mike Tyson happened, maybe I missed something. Let's see. Mariota played well enough to win that ball game yesterday. That's coming from Daniel. I think we did as a team play well enough, but the refs had other plans. Panthers are having a fire sale on valuable players. Anybody that worth us picking up, you think, Daniel? Daniel says, can't feel bad for tampon wearing bread. Hey, finna read all that, man. Dang, you wild. Dang, y'all see, y'all got me talking about wrestling, man. I didn't get to do the player grades today. Dang. So, I don't know. I guess I'll get back on what I need to do next week as far as the player grades go, because I done ran out of time. It's almost 6 o'clock. Y'all done took me back down a memory lane, got me talking about wrestling and stuff. So I'm sure tonight I'm gonna get on YouTube and start looking at some old wrestling videos. But shoot, man, I guess we'll give our entire team a B+ because we got shafted. We got shafted by the NFL yesterday, so we'll give our entire team a B+. But I promise next week I won't get sidetracked and I'll just come in and I'll do the player grades next week. So I apologize to y'all about that. My bad. I didn't do what I needed to do today. I got sidetracked. Facebook user speaking about wrestler Terry Funk, Cactus Jack, barbed wire match. Man, Terry Funk was a boy. Terry Funk was a bad boy when it came to wrestling. I remember him and Ric Flair used to have some matches. Terry Funk was a specialist in wrestling outside of the ring, and boy, that Joker show was dirty. I used to like Terry Funk, and you remember the Von Erich brothers, Kerry and Eric Von Erich, and boy, them boys could wrestle, and they were good with their feet. They didn't want no wrestling boots. They would come and just kick your ass with their feet. Them Von Erich boys were some bad boys. Rest in peace to them. Y'all wrestling fans, y'all know is speaking of conspiracies, there's a Von Erich conspiracy in the wrestling community. So y'all who really follow wrestling, y'all know what I'm talking about. It is kind of odd, I will say that. And man, them old wrestling documentaries be good too. And some of the new ones, like I watched one recently when they was talking about Queen Elizabeth and Lex Luger. I think like her last 48 hours. That's on YouTube. That's a good one to watch. Eric Benoit, that's a good one to watch. But hey, man, this is a Falcons group, man. Y'all, I'm not finna keep talking about wrestling with y'all. Y'all done got me all sidetracked. Hey, man, I appreciate everybody's time. San Francisco, this weekend, we back in the A. We back at home. We're gonna leave with the victory. We're gonna take out our frustration and us being upset we got cheated on the Niners. But until then, gone. Appreciate all y'all time, man.